Did you know that the biggest football tournament in history is already facing one of its biggest controversies before a single ball has even been kicked? Yes, you heard that right. The 2026 FIFA World Cup, a tournament expected to unite billions of fans across the United States, Canada, and Mexico, is instead becoming the center of a growing global backlash, not because of the teams, not because of the players, and not because of anything happening on the pitch. The controversy is coming from the stands, because for the first time in World Cup history, many lifelong football supporters are asking a question that would have seemed unthinkable just a few years ago. Has the World Cup become a tournament built for wealthy corporations and VIPs rather than ordinary football fans? And the reason this debate exploded across social media, fan groups, and even political circles comes down to one shocking number: $2.3 million. That was the reported price of some World Cup final tickets listed on FIFA's official resale platform. Not a private black market website, not an unofficial scalper, FIFA's own authorized resale marketplace. And when FIFA President Gianni Infantino was asked about those listings at a conference in Beverly Hills, his response immediately triggered outrage around the world. Instead of condemning the prices or promising action, he joked that if someone actually bought a ticket for $2 million, he would personally bring them a hot dog and a Coke. For some people in the audience, it was a harmless joke. For many football supporters, it felt like a symbol of everything that has gone wrong with the modern game. Because the frustration isn't really about one ticket, it's about what those ticket prices represent. To understand why fans are so angry, you have to compare this World Cup to the last one. During the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, the cheapest official tickets started at around $69. They were not free, but they were still within reach for many ordinary supporters who dreamed of experiencing football's biggest event. Fast forward to 2026, and reports show that the average cheapest available resale ticket for many group stage matches has been around $500 or more. That means the cost of simply entering a stadium for some matches has increased by several hundred% in just one tournament cycle. And when fans started looking at premium seating, the numbers became even more shocking. FIFA's own premium final tickets reached nearly $34,000 per seat. Then came the resale listings worth millions. Suddenly, what was supposed to be the people's tournament began to look more like an exclusive luxury event. FIFA's defense is straightforward. The organization argues that demand for the 2026 World Cup is unlike anything football has ever seen before. This tournament will feature 48 teams for the first time in history, making it the largest World Cup ever organized. Hundreds of millions of ticket requests flooded FIFA's systems within days. Stadium capacities remain limited, while global interest continues to grow. From FIFA's perspective, extraordinary demand naturally drives extraordinary prices. In purely economic terms, the argument makes sense. But football supporters see the issue differently. They argue that the World Cup is not supposed to function like a luxury product. It is not a private concert or an exclusive business event. It is football's most important global competition, a tournament built on the passion of ordinary supporters from every corner of the world. And when prices rise so dramatically, many fans feel that the very people who built the sport are being pushed aside. What makes the controversy even more significant is that it arrives at a time when football is already facing growing criticism about commercialization. Over the last decade, ticket prices across major leagues have increased. Corporate hospitality sections have expanded. Sponsorship deals have become larger than ever before, and many supporters feel that football clubs and governing bodies are increasingly focused on maximizing revenue rather than protecting fan culture. The World Cup was often viewed as different. It was supposed to be the tournament where football returned to its roots, a celebration of national pride, global unity, and shared passion. But the 2026 tournament is forcing many people to reconsider that belief. Because when the cheapest path into a stadium costs hundreds of dollars, many families simply cannot afford to attend. And if ordinary fans stay home, the atmosphere that makes football special begins to change. This is where the story becomes much bigger than ticket prices. Because football is not just a sport, it is culture, it is identity, it is tradition. The World Cup exists because generations of supporters spent decades investing their emotions into the game. They filled stadiums long before billion-dollar sponsorships existed. They followed their national teams through victories and heartbreaks. They created the atmosphere that transformed football into the most popular sport on earth. And now, many of those same supporters feel that they are being priced out of the very event they helped build. That feeling has fueled petitions, social media campaigns, and criticism from fan organizations across Europe, North America, South America, Africa, and Asia. For them, the issue is not simply affordability. It is about belonging. They want to know whether there is still a place for ordinary football supporters in the modern World Cup. The controversy has also attracted attention beyond football itself. Legal authorities in several American states have reportedly examined aspects of ticket pricing and resale practices. Questions have been raised about dynamic pricing models, inventory management, and how tickets are distributed. FIFA has maintained that its processes comply with all applicable regulations and that the organization remains confident in its ticketing systems. But the existence of these investigations has only added fuel to an already heated debate, because every new headline reinforces the perception that something unusual is happening around the biggest sporting event on the planet. Meanwhile, there are growing signs that some supporters are responding with their wallets. Reports have emerged suggesting that certain host cities have seen softer than expected demand for accommodations compared to initial projections. Some fans who originally planned to travel have openly stated that they will instead watch from home. Others argue that spending thousands of dollars on flights, hotels, and tickets is simply no longer realistic. While millions will still attend the tournament, the concern is that the composition of the crowd may begin to change. Instead of being dominated by passionate traveling supporters, some fear stadiums could increasingly be filled by corporate guests, hospitality clients, and wealthier spectators. And if that happens, many believe the atmosphere could suffer. At the center of all this stands FIFA. The organization faces a challenge that goes far beyond ticket sales. It must convince supporters that the World Cup still belongs to them. Because every decision FIFA makes now sends a message about the future of football. Is the sport moving toward a model where access is determined primarily by financial power? Or can football remain a global game that welcomes supporters from every economic background? Those questions may define not only the 2026 World Cup, but the future direction of the sport itself. And perhaps that is why the hot dog and Coke comment generated such a powerful reaction. Not because it was offensive, not because it was controversial on its own, but because it seemed disconnected from what many supporters were actually feeling. For fans struggling to afford tickets, the joke felt like a reminder that football's leadership and football supporters are increasingly living in different worlds. One world sees record demand, growing revenues, and commercial success. The other sees rising costs, shrinking accessibility, and a tournament that feels further away than ever before. As the countdown to the 2026 FIFA World Cup continues, the matches will eventually begin. The goals will be scored, the stadiums will fill, new legends will emerge, but long before the first trophy is lifted, another battle is already underway, a battle over who the World Cup is really for, and that may become one of the most important stories of the entire tournament. Because in the end, the biggest question is not whether someone will buy a $2 million ticket. The real question is whether ordinary football supporters will still feel that the World Cup belongs to them. And if they no longer do, What does that mean for the future of the world's most beloved game?